Redline Logbook here to tell you about other locations outside of Aurora. We're going to start with the one that we know basically the least amount, and that is the Far East. The Far East literally doesn't even have a name. It's just referred to as the Far East, and it's an island nation that's basically based off of Japan. It seems to be heavily based off of feudal Japan, to be specific, so there are a few very wealthy lords and many peasants for the majority of the population. And many of the gods that exist there are actually they work alongside the lords, and they're seen as noble, great gods, or they work along with the peasants because they're seen as lesser, insignificant gods. Miak was considered one of the more insignificant gods in the area. In fact, even the human lords would disrespect him because they didn't see much value in him, even though he was a god. It also seems to be placed in a region of the world where it has 4 very distinct seasons: winter, summer, spring, and fall, unlike Aurora, which is very, I guess you could say, gray year-round. A location that is much closer to Aurora is a port town of Moline. Moline is only located 3 to 4 kilometers from Aurora. If you just follow the river that's in Aurora to the southwest, you'll discover the lake of Lolog or Rorog. Japanese, the L's and the R's are kind of confused sometimes, so I don't know the exact translation of it. Depending who translates the novels, it's hard to tell which is right. I'm just going to go with Lolog because that seems to be the most common spelling. Now, Moline is its own city, well, small town really, but it's still under the control of the guild because this is the primary place where the guild and Aurora supply its seafood. The Ninjord Familia, a group of fishermen, basically are the primary source of seafood of all kinds for the city of Aurora. As such, the town's power structure is familiar between the 3 people and the guild. Because the lake of Lolog is connected to the ocean, this is actually the primary place that other people from around the world get to Aurora. They hop on a ship, sail to the port city of Marin, and then get a carriage and just travel to Aurora. As such, it's probably one of the most traveled places in the world. If you continue to travel southeast to the southernmost point of the continent, you will come across a peninsula, which is a landmass that has water on 3 sides, like Italy or Florida. In this case, it's not just surrounded on 3 sides by water, it's also, the 4th side is completely blocked off by a mountain range. As such, this location is completely isolated, which is why it is its own country of Telskyera, the homeland of the Amazon. Telskyera, because it is the homeland of a warrior race combined with the fact that it's basically an impenetrable fortress on all sides, is one of the oldest nations in the world. While it isn't against the law to leave, it very much isn't in their mindset to even think about leaving. They're basically brainwashed at birth to be killing machines that only care about fighting, to be a greater and greater warrior. You want to be there to prove that you're the best. And this reason why they need to brainwash you into thinking this way is because you have to start killing baby monsters when you are unable, even before you're able to speak, and you slowly move up to the point where you then start killing other Amazons. What they'll do is they'll take the girls and they'll split them into different groups, in which they'll have their own rooms where they'll sleep in together, yada yada yada. And at a certain point, when it's finally time to kill another Amazon, they will then kill another Amazon from another group. But here's the thing. That isn't where it ends. Once an entire group has been completely wiped out, then the girls then have to start killing each other within the same group, until eventually only one remains. So while you get used to killing other people, you then bond with the people within your own group, until finally you then have to slaughter the people you bonded with. The point of this is, once again, a mixture of brainwashing, but also to make you as brutal warrior as possible, because you have to be being able to kill someone that you become friends with. Currently, the country is being ruled over by a goddess named Kali, but the tradition of the Amazons killing each other didn't start with Kali. Kali just found it amusing and entertaining and wanted to take part in it. That's why she chose the Amazons as her kingdom. In truth, this practice has been going on for thousands of years. Almina, an Amazon who became a hero during the Age of Heroes started by Argonaut, actually killed her own sister, and this traumatized her so much that she actually latched onto a girl that looked like her sister but was a human and basically desperately forced her to be her sister. Because this practice has been going on for thousands of years, no one actually knows how it started. We just know that it's very sick and dark. Ironically, the introduction of Kali, the goddess, now being able to give a fauna to everyone, gave a new element to this ritual practice that kind of legitimized it, because now the ladies don't just prove they're a stronger warrior, they actually do get stronger by increasing their fauna. Argana and Bachi, who are the 2 strongest members of Kali's Familia, and basically the co-rulers of Telskyura, are both level 6 now. Obviously, the way you level up is you have to be able to accomplish a great feat that even the gods cannot ignore, which means that these two ladies had to have fought people who are on par with them or even slightly stronger than them for thousands, if not even hundreds of thousands of times, which means they've slaughtered so many other fellow Amazons, which finally earned them enough XP to, become level 6. And the last bit of information is, yes, there are men on the island, even though Amazons can only give birth to other Amazons, so women. But these men are slaves who do hard labor and are there for breeding purposes, so the Amazons can keep their numbers up. In truth, these men live horrid, awful lives, probably even worse than the Amazons themselves. They are just destined to work themselves to death, basically. The northernmost part of the continent is the Valley of Dragons. This is a mountain range that many nomadic people live, especially beast people. In fact, Bet's werewolf tribe was originally from this area. The only problem is that this area's true rulers are a bunch of dragons that thousands of years ago escaped from the dungeon. The dragons on these mountains are quite powerful. In fact, this region is referred to as one of the 3 great wonders of the world, the dungeon being another one, of course. The Valley of Dragons is without a doubt one of the harshest environments you could possibly live, because once again, it's a mountain range to the north, so it's cold, snows a lot, plants are not really able to be grown as crops, you have to basically survive by hunting and gathering, so you gotta be pretty tough to survive, and even then, if just one or more powerful dragon just wanders around, it could just straight up just slaughter you and your entire family. In fact, the dragon that killed Bet's entire family, Bet had a full-on duel with it years later when he was a level 3 under a full moon, so he was getting a power boost from the moon since he's a werewolf, and even then, he almost died in the middle of the fight because it was just that powerful. And that's not even one of the stronger dragons, that's just a basic dragon that exists in the area. As it is one of the 3 wonders, people have no idea about what it's like inside the Valley of Dragons, very little to almost no detail of it, because most people who've ventured into it have only been able to get to the outer areas of it. Most likely, it is believed that the one-eyed black dragon is probably living in the center of it as the ruler of all the dragons. And the final location I would like to talk about is the Kiesso's Desert, also known as the Grand Sand Sea. It is a massive desert that covers much of the southern part of the continent. A massive river called the Nile cuts the area in half, an east and western section. As a result, it's one of the harshest places in the world to live. As such, the countries in the region are located around rivers and major oases. Magic items are very much required to survive in this region. Purification for waters, sand boats that are able to, travel on sand, etc., etc. What's saddening is that the majority of the infrastructure, of course, is magic-based, therefore you need a power source for that magic. In this case, it's slaves. It is very common in this place for mass groups of slaves to basically use as batteries. In fact, slavery is so common in this area of the world that there are entire markets in pretty much every major city in every country in the region, where thousands, if not tens of thousands, of slaves are sold every single day. We know of 3 countries all located in the western part of the desert, which are Israfan, which is known as the country of merchants. It's located next to a bunch of very important oases, which makes it perfect for being a stopping point for people traveling around the world. As such, much of the world's commerce goes through this region, and so it's very rich. Leontown, a city located in the most northern oasis in Israfan, is probably the most important trade port in the entire desert because it's the closest area in the desert to Ororio. As such, the dungeon being the number 1 source of magic stones, therefore the number 1 source of magic items in the world. That makes this city, and in turn the country of Israfan, the number 1 trade spot in the region. Another major country in the region, Shalzard. Out of the 3 western nations in the region, Shalzard has the most oases. As such, it controls a large amount of the water and food in the region, making it quite powerful. The 3rd western nation is Warsar. This nation, much of its land is quite crap. As such, it relies heavily on raiding its 2 more richer and valuable neighbors. A few years ago, Warsar was able to hire a group of mercenary familias to basically conquer Shalzard, killing their emperor and chasing their prince, in quotation marks, into the 4 winds. Their prince actually was a princess pretending to be a male because in this area only men can inherit the throne, and so because the king failed to have any sons, he forced his daughter to become his son. She was fortunate enough to get aid from the Freya Familia, who in turn annihilated Warsar's army and also the mercenaries that they hired. After this minor conflict in the world, the 3 countries basically signed a truce with each other, and now the entire area is going through what is basically considered a golden period. those are just a few areas that exist outside of Auroreo in the Danmachi universe. There are plenty more. I will plan on doing other videos on them, but at the moment these were the ones that I just really wanted to talk about. Alright, if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, give it a thumbs up so you enjoy more Danmachi and other anime things. Thank you, and have a great day.